Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I am going to discuss with you some of the important question of standard SA 250. So this standard covers around 4 to 5 marks of weightage in your examination. So don't think of skipping the entire standard. In this entire video, I am going to discuss with you some around 6 to 7 questions, and after watching the entire video, after after doing the writing practice of these 7 questions, I am sure that you gain a good grab of the entire standard. So before starting this class, I request you to grab your notebook and pen and just watch till end. Let's move on to the first question. So this question I had taken it from PYQ September 2025. So first of all, we have to read the entire question. AJ Private Limited is a company involved in the business of textile manufacturing and having its factory at Noida. The business of the company is spread across India. Due to the recent fire incidents, the local authority of Noida passed a regulation wherein it is compulsory for any organization in its jurisdictional area to have a valid fire no objection certificate issued by the regulatory authority. You are appointed as a statutory auditor of the company for the financial year 24-25. During initial risk assessment phase, you observed that the company is not in possession of the fire NOC as stipulated by the regulatory authority. You approach TCWG on the same. They are of the opinion that obtaining fire NOC is outside the purview of the financial statement, hence you are not required to look after this aspect. What are the auditor's responsibilities in relation to compliance with laws and regulation? So this is a 5-mark question. Before jumping into the conclusion, I will provide the crux of the question, what the question really demands. So here, there is a summary of the question. There is a company called as a AJ Private Limited Company. It is a manufacturing company. It is a textile manufacturing company which is located, which factory is located in Noida. And there is a legal requirement. There is a new legal requirement that the local authority of Noida had made a mandatory thing that all every organization in that area need to have a valid fire no objection certificate. And during this risk assessment procedure carried out by the statutory auditor of the company had found out that the auditor had found out that the company is not in possession of the fire NOC that is stipulated by the regulatory authority. And as a statutory auditor, the auditor discussed the same thing with the TCWG, those charged with governance, and they had argued that fire NOC is outside the purview of a financial statement. So as an auditor, you need not require to look after this aspect. This is the one thing that the management had told to the auditor. Obtaining fire NOC is outside the scope of this financial statement. So as an auditor, there is no need to look after the same thing. So you have to, as an auditor, you should ignore this non-compliance. So this is the case study. This is the summary of the entire question. So as an auditor, what are the responsibility in relation with the compliance with laws and regulation? So this is the question that is asked in PYQ. This is for 5 marks. So how do we frame this answer for this question? So let's write along with me. So let's frame answer for this question. So we know that auditor's responsibility in relation to compliance with laws and regulation. There are 2 types of laws and regulation. First of all, the laws and regulation that have a direct impact, and another is that some laws and regulation have an indirect impact on the financial statement. So what are the auditor's responsibility in relation to these 2 categories of laws and regulation? We have to write both of this, and we know that obtaining fire NOC, this thing is not reflected as figures in the financial statement, but obtaining a fire NOC is crucial for running the business. So this comes under the other law. So auditor responsibility in relation to other law is highlighted in this question. So we need to frame the answer for this. So let's write. So let's write the answer. First of all, we have to give the name of the essay. So this is related to standards on auditing essay. Wait a second. Essay 250. So the essay 250 deals with consideration of laws and regulations. You have to write the entire word. Okay, I am using just a shortcut. Laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements. You can give this standard as a heading. As per essay 250, the auditor's responsibility in relation to compliance with laws and regulations is distinguished into the following two categories. Okay, so the first is laws and regulations having a direct effect on the determination of material amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. This includes laws such as taxation laws, labor laws, etc., which directly affect the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. In respect of such laws and regulations, the auditor is responsible for obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding compliance with provisions of such laws and regulations. Second category is other laws and regulations. Not having a direct effect on the determination of amounts and disclosures in financial statement. These laws do not directly affect the financial statements. However, compliance with them may be fundamental to the operating aspects of business of business, comma, the entity's ability to continue its business or to avoid material penalties Non-compliance with such laws and regulations therefore may have a material effect on financial statements. In respect of such laws and regulations, the auditor's responsibility is limited to performing specified audit procedures to help identify instances of non-compliance that may have a material effect on financial statement. Financial statements. So the conclusion regarding this question is, accordingly, the auditor should evaluate whether any penal provisions arise due to the non-compliance with such laws, and whether the same have been adequately disclosed in FS, financial statements. If the auditor concludes that such non-compliance has a material effect and has not been properly reflected, then auditor shall express adverse opinion or qualified opinion. Okay, so this is the answer for this first question.